Shin Valid, page 32, bottom of the page. We're holding by the words, by the paragraph of Inyanhu, and we were talking about the idea that a person needs to learn Torah with Yerushalayim, with Bittul, and that is the gain and the causing of shalom, that the Yid makes shalom, peace in the world between Hashem and the world, and between himself and the Eibishter, etc. So now he's going to continue in the effect and what comes down into the world, that the Eibishter is mashpia rav too, and that is nechasim amatzlichim and so on. So he's going to go on the effect and the connection of the Torah with the world and the effect that it has on the world. Opinion who the idea behind this is in Iksiv, it says in the pasuk Asara Kaf Shekel HaKodesh, that it says in the Karbonis, and it says that 10 of each spoon, each measure in the holy weight and the holy shekel. But from the fact that it says Asara, it doesn't just say to put in Asara, it says Asara. So there's what the Zohar says, Asara. Why does it say twice Asara? Im Aseres Hadibris v'Asara Mamoris. They are, in other words, in a holy scale, they are weighted against each other. You have on one side of the scale, you have the Aseres Hadibris, and the other side of the scale, you have the Asara Amoris, the 10 utterances. In Asara Amoris, the avoid is to draw down from the Asara Hadibris to Asara Amoris, top of page 33, to draw this down into this world. In other words, that the Asara Hadibris, the idea of Torah, has to impact the world. That's the idea of the Asara Hadibris coming down to the Asara Amar. Chazal said, Chazal said that the world could have been created with one utterance. Why did the Eibishter have to do? Why was it created with saying 10 times Vayomer? He could have said, let there be a world and everything in it, and that would have been enough, and everything would have been created. Chazal answer to give good reward to the tzaddikim that sustain the world that was created with 10 utterances. What does this mean? So he's going to explain, according to Chassidus, what the idea of the Maimer Echad is, and what is the 10 Mamars. The Maimer Echad was Sphiras HaMalchus, Shaboikel, and Kol Sphiras. What does it mean that the Eibishter created the world with one utterance, just like when we have the number 10? And so as soon as we say about 10 utterances, that right away clicks up 10 spheres. But when we're talking about one utterance, that there could have been one sphere that could have created the entire world, that would have been Sphiras HaMalchus. Why can Sphiras HaMalchus alone create the world? Why is it enough with just one utterance of Sphiras HaMalchus alone to create the world? Because as we know, Malchus is like a cup. Malchus is like a container. Malchus is like a keli for all the Essa spheres above it. So really, Malchus has in it all the spheres of above, and therefore it's able to create the entire world. And I was going to explain that in detail, this need for the 10 spheres, at least in Malchus. With this understood, is what it says. That with one utterance, the world could have been created. Seemingly, the question is, what's it going to help one utterance? One sphere is not going to be enough. Varetzarechli is called Prati Abdi. There has to be all the specifics of the creation, or all the details of creation. From where it says that there should be light, and there has to be all the way through till it says So therefore, since there needs to be all these individual creations, how could they have all been created with one utterance? Elosh, Maimer, Echad, Spheres, Amalchus, the boy Klul Kol Spheres. One utterance is going on the Spheres Amalchus. And since Spheres Amalchus has in it all the 10 spheres, so therefore it has all the details. The world would be able to create it, it's been created even with one utterance, even with the one sphere of Malchus. So what's the difference then between the world being created actually with 10 spheres, with Asarim Amoris, or the world being created with Malchus that only contains the Asarim, that it contains the 10 spheres? Elosh, spheres, Kamaisha includes the Malchus and Behel. The spheres, the way they're included in Malchus, are concealed. Therefore, the world was created with 10 utterances, so that the spheres that are concealed in that it shouldn't be created with the spheres the way they are concealed, but rather to be created with spheres begol. Now he's going to explain the effect of creating with the spheres begoli, how each sphere contributes to the creation. The idea behind this is the bechol hashpah tzarich idea as every hashpah has to be specifically through 10 levels. The 10 spheres are like a blueprint for everything. Any time when there's a transmission from a higher level to a lower level, you need to have these 10 levels. Like for example, when the seichel is being transmitted from a teacher to a student, first there's the point of the idea that he wants to give over. That's chachma. Afterwards, he has to think well into the point, to extract the details, and to line up and to set up the idea. That's the idea of bin. Afterwards, also there has to be the idea of love and kindness. Because the general idea of any type of transmission, the fact that the Rav gives to the Talmud, etc., it's a result of love. Yet, if the love is just not held back, if the love is unabated, so then the hashpah can be in such a way that the receiver can't receive it. But from this perspective of love alone, so then the hashpah can be more than how much the mekabel can handle. And therefore, he won't be able to receive anything. It doesn't mean that X amount you'll be able to receive and the rest you won't be able to receive. The truth is, he will lose. In other words, like this, if we were to say that excessive love would cause excessive hashpah, that the mekabel cannot take so much hashpah, so one could tie it and say, you know what, just give a lot, and whatever the mekabel receives, he'll receive. But that's not the way it works. The way it works is, if we give too much, if we go over the top, so then even what is possible for the mekabel to accept and to receive, even that which is he's up to receiving, he also won't get. First, let's give a silly analogy. If you have a very powerful stream of water, sometimes faucets are not calibrated well, and they're just all of a sudden gushing a lot of water. And you put a small cup over there. It's not just shot that you're going to have as much water as the cup can take, and the rest will go to waste. It will sometimes come down such force that nothing stays in the cup. It all bounces right out of the cup. In a similar vein, if a teacher gives too much for the student, so then even what the student normally would be able to handle, it would be like too overwhelming, and like it's brought down in Salamar Chassidus, it would just make a bilbul. He would only be more confused than he was even before he came to hear. So therefore, He cannot have just the hashpah with chesed, with ava, that has no control, because then he won't get anything from it. That's what he's saying. Therefore, there has to be the idea of severity and constriction. He measures out the seichel, how much he is able to receive, and how much is he worthy of? Has he earned the right to these ideas? Has he been an appropriate student to be able to receive this? On the other hand, from the perspective of gvura, severity, so it's possible that the constriction will be too much, more so than necessary. Therefore, there has to be the idea of tiferes. The tiferes, tiferes is an intermediary between chesed and gvura. The loizu balvad. Not only is it an intermediary between chesed and gvura, but elashat tiferes kolelas midas hachesed umidas hagvura. The tiferes amalgamates and joins and puts together the chesed and the gvura to balance each other out. So it's not, in other words, like this. I think the first thing that he's saying, that the tiferes of mamutza bechesed gvura, means it's not so much chesed and it's not so much gvura. I think that's what he's trying to say by saying mamutza bechesed gvura. It's in between. He wants to give, but it doesn't want to give so much, and it wants to hold back, and it doesn't want to hold back entirely. I think that's the first thing that he's saying. The second thing that he's saying is even more so. It's incorporating both the chesed and gvura together. Perhaps the advantage of that is that he hasn't like totally turned off, let's say, the faucet of the chesed. It's always there to be able to give more as the situation permits, perhaps. Anyway, so then, in a tzad midas tiferes, iterim alles, was mit kennen mekabel sein, from the perspective of midas tiferes, he gives the student everything that the student is capable and is able to receive. By the way, there's perhaps another point to this is, okay, let's wait for a little bit later, because we're going to have Netzach and Hoid also about this. Since the intention of the mashpia is that the receiver himself should become a mashpia, this is specifically through the two spheres of Netzach and Hoid, that these are the expression, there's kidneys that advise, the person's advisory faculties, how to give it to him in such a way that afterwards he himself will be a mashpia. This is an interesting insight into Netzach v'Hoid. There's in different Mamarim we will find different explanations of Netzach v'Hoid. Here, there's an interesting explanation that it's not. It's like really planning ahead. That the Netzach v'Hoid is about giving him the tools in the hashpah, not just that he should be able to receive the hashpah, but that afterwards he has now the tools to be able to deliver this further. Sometimes you find that a student can come into a class and to understand very well what the teacher is saying and really take it in. But if he ever needs to tell it over, he doesn't have the tools to express it. He doesn't have the tools to say it over further. He comes back home and wants to share it with his parents. He feels that he doesn't have the tools to give that over. It seems to be from this mimer that the Netzach v'Hoid is the tools that the Mashpia shares with the Makabel, so the Makabel can further share this with the next Makabel. And they say this the Zell, the actual hashpah, the following stage where the Talmud himself is being mashpia, the Zell, like the Spirit Hayisoid, who is kashrus, hamashpia makam, or just or the very hashpah of the mashpia and the makabel, the first stage is through Spirit Hayisoid. That is the bond, the connection of the mashpia and the makabel. Sometimes the citizens use the term the avekleg, the mashpia putting himself aside, the mashpia setting aside his own interests. He could be sitting and studying and being involved in very high and lofty things. And he sets himself aside and devotes himself to the student. That is the sphere of Yisoid. And this hashpah is also with warmth. It's not done in an indifferent manner, in a cold manner, in an ambivalent manner. He's passionate about it. This is all that the hashpah of the mashpia to Mekabel is passionate and so on. That is the idea behind Spirit Yisoid. There is what's called the area of the Mekabel in the mashpia, meaning in the mashpia himself, there is like the level of how he pictures and imagines the makabel that he's trying to deliver this to. Because it's not just enough to have all of these things. He needs to have within himself, for a lack of a better term, an imaginary makabel. That's on that level that he's being mashpiyat. Is the level, the area of the Makabel, the Mashpia. That's the 10th Sphira. Sphiras HaMalchus, Mashpia, the Sphira of Malchus, the Mashpia. Hine, Kol Bechilus, Elu, Yeshem, Gam, Makabel, all of these levels, there's also to be found in the Makabel. That means another word like this. The 10 levels that we just now went through, Chachma, Bina, and so on, it's to be found in the Makabel himself, not just the Mashpia. The way these 10 levels are in the Makabel. Also the way they are in the area of the Makabel, in the Mashpia himself. That also in the Makabel area of the Mashpia, there's all these 10 levels, so they're all concealed. So in other words, like this, when the Mashpia gives over the idea to the Makabel, already over there in the world of the Makabel, there's the Mashpia didn't give him over an Nekudas HaChachma, he gave him over a full-blown idea. So there's the Bina, there's the Chachma also over there, and there's the emotions that he transmitted, et cetera, et cetera. But the Makabel doesn't really hear that. The Makabel just gets an idea. Embedded in the idea is all that emotions that went through the chesed, the good, and the fairness. Should I give this much? Should I give that much? So the Makabel is receiving it, and it's in him, but he's not really cognizant of it. It's not revealed. It's concealed. That's what it means. That with one utterance, the world would have been able to be created. The mitzad spheres malchus, from the perspective of spheres malchus, sheklulim b'kol spheres, actually bothers because the spheres malchus that's included in all the spheres that could have been created the world because the spheres malchus, the shetach hamekabel also has in it all the 10 levels. Yet they decided not to. The spheres malchus and behelm, since the spheres malchus they are concealed. So then the creation would have also been in a state of conceal. They would have also been concealed, these 10 spheres in the creation. Therefore, the world was created with the 10 utterances, with the 10 spheres. So the 10 spheres should become revealed. This is what Chazal said, to give a good reward for the tzaddikim that sustained the world that was created with the 10 utterances. The rots and tzaddikim who What is the will of tzaddikim? Habriya yiyah hakoil begilu. That in the creation, everything should be revealed. The tzaddikim want godliness revealed in the world. They don't want a world that's concealed of godliness. That's what it means to give good reward to the tzaddikim that make the world exist. With the 10 utterances, the tzaddikim, who, top of page 34, close Yisrael. Tzaddikim is going on the general, Klal Yisrael, Kamei Shekasu. Yisrael, I get Yiskom, the Torah mitzvahs, Bir Shamayim. Through being involved in Torah mitzvahs, Bir Shamayim, but all of heaven, which is what we were speaking about before, the idea of Limudi Havaya, B'chol Padayach, this idea of Bir Shamayim. Mamshichim Sheyiyah HaKoil Begilim Ba'olam. They draw down that everything should be revealed in the world. Now, like we said before, through being involved in Torah, we make peace between the Eibishter and this world. That the Yidden draw down the revelation of godliness in this world. By the way, so this is the piece that we were talking about earlier. In other places he speaks about the idea litin sachar toiv tzaddikim. I don't remember if this is the point that he says in other places. Why? What's the expression to give good reward? Usually the expression that's used is to give reward. What's it mean to give good reward? What's the idea of good reward? What type of reward is called good reward? So we know that toiv, good, has to do with revelation. Like it says, that he staged saw the light and it was good. So light has to do with goodness. And when it says that the Yocheved saw when Moshe was born that he was good, so Rashi explains this that the house, the room was filled with light, and we always have the idea of Shuva Maisim Toivim. We mentioned this, I think, earlier in the previous time. Maisim should be Toivim Umi'irim. The action should be good and illuminated. That's through preceding it by Shuva. So we see Toiv is the idea of illumination. So perhaps if it doesn't say this openly, maybe I'm misremembering or not. It says litin sachar toiv tzaddikim, to give good reward to tzaddikim. What's the idea of this good reward? The idea of the good reward is that the reward and the revelation of godliness should be in a way of toiv, which is oir, which is meir begoli. Line 3 from the top of page 34. That's what it means that they sustain the world that was created with the 10 utterances. They draw it down, so it should be revealed. That's what it means that they make the kiyum of the world, because the world exists already. What's it mean that they're being mekayim the world? They're making the world exist. The world exists already, but it means that beforehand, for the Asara Baris is not so revealed in the world. Comes the tzaddikim through Torah, through Eiskat Torah, Bir Shamayim, they bring down godliness to be revealed in this world. That says the balance, there's the 10 verses 10. What does that mean? We have to draw down from Aseres Adibris into Asara Maris. And from Asara Maris, from the 10 utterances to draw down into the world. Through being involved in Torah, the Aseres Adibris, we affect you. Call us a spheres here, with that all the 10 spheres should become revealed in the world. And a further stage of obviously of revelation then was just by the creation of the world, when it said what was only created with Asara Maris. Any question? Okay, we're holding second paragraph on page 34. This idea of the world having the Asara Amaris instead of Maimer Echad, meaning there's a revelation of the Esespheres, and then there's a further revelation of the Tzaddikim through or through the Maisim and through the actions, through Torah mitzvahs, and through Aser Sadibris. There's an even further revelation. So we see this in the word Toldos that we use both on the creation and on later. This is what it says in the pasuk. This is the history, the births of the heavens and the earth when they were created. Toldos Maliksi. The word Toldos is written with a vav. It can be written without a vav. It's written with a vav. What does this teach us? The Chazal teach us the Olam Amiluay Nivra. The world was created complete. It was created whole, meaning that there was nothing missing in the world. The world was not lacking anything in the time of creation. That's the Chazal derived from it. The Yosha Olam Nivra Basara Amar. How come? This is connected to what we were talking about before. Since the world was created with the 10 utterances, instead of being created just with one utterance, so the fact that it was created with the 10 utterances, which enables that means that to be able to be a revelation of godliness in the world. Kimaimer, like it says, I've come to my garden, my sister, my bride. Legani, what does it mean to my garden? Lignuni, to my special place. To the place where he was there primarily. The Ikar Shechina B'Tachtoyna Ma'isa, primarily the Shechina was down here below, or the primary part of the Shechina was down here below. So we see that the world was created already in a complete manner. Godliness was here. Asara Varis was here. It wasn't my Menecha. Through the sin of Eitzadas and the other sins, they chased away Kaviyachal the Shechina, they got rid of it, they pushed it up till the seventh heaven. And afterwards the Tzaddikim arose. That Avram arose, and he brought on the Shechina from the seventh heaven to the sixth, and so on and so forth. Till Moshe Rabbeinu came, that's the seventh Avram. And all the seventh are special and favored. And he brought it down the Shechina from the first heaven down here below the earth. Like it says, my time about the Torah, my years of Har Sinai, that I descended to Har Sinai. There's no Gam Kamasha Kosev. Eila told us Peretz Mole when it says about the birth of Peretz from Yehuda and Tamar. So it says this is the history of the birth of Peretz. Over there, it also says Toilos. It says with the letter Vavs inside. Why is that so? Mashiach is from the descendants of Peretz, who will be us on Mashiach Yiyam Molech. And the coming Mashiach, the world will be complete. Like it says at the beginning, Elu told us to Shmai V'Aretz, Hanifiyim, Gila, Lukus Ba'ilam, K'may B'Shas Abriya, Da'ilam B'Loy Nivra. There'll be the revelation of godliness in the world, like at the time of the creation, that the world was created complete. And how was that so? That's through the preparation of the Avodah Tzaddikim throughout the entire time of the service of refining the sparks in general. B'Meshach calls Mana Gols B'Frat specifically during the entire time of the Golas, through their service, either be a Mashiach. By the coming of Mashiach, will be like the time of creation, that the world was created complete and full. Okay, stop. Any questions?